بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نشكو إليك فقد نبينا وغيبة إمامنا وكثرة عدونا وقلة عددنا وشدة الفتن بنا ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بك. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على حبيبك الذي أرسلته رحمة للعالمين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Sisters and brothers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today is the anniversary 15th of Ramadan, the anniversary of the birth of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba, the second Imam within the 12 infallible Imams, starting with Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamu alayhi, and ultimately ending with our living Imam. May Allah hasten his return, inshallah. There was a hadith that I started a few nights ago, narrated from the fifth Imam, Imam al-Baqir alayhi salatu wassalam. بني الإسلام على خمس. Islam rests on 5 pivotal pillars. على الصلاة والزكاة والصوم والحج والولاية. Fast, prayer, zakat, which is the dues to the poor and the needy, Sawm, which is the fasting, Hajj, pilgrimage, and Wilaya. وَلَمْ يُنَادَ بِشَيْءٍ كَمَا نُودِيَ بِالْوِلَايَةِ. There is nothing more important or more significant within these than the Wilaya. Why? لأن الوالي هو الدليل عليهن. The Imam is the one that supervises and oversees all these. What we call here the living intellect to be able to deal with all the affairs. There is a story from Hisham ibn Hakam, one of the disciples of Imam Sadiq salawatullah salam alayhi. He was extremely able in what we call debate. He heard that there was one of these scholars of Basra, Amr ibn Ubaid, that said that really Imam is not necessary in the society. We as ordinary people, we have the intellect and so on that we can function without the Imam. So Hisham said, Hisham, by the way, is a disciple of the 6th Imam, but he lived, his business was in Baghdad, but he lived around Kufa and Wasit, around that area, which is close between Kufa and Hilla. He said that I decided to go to Basra and meet with this character to see what he says. So I went to the Masjid al-Basra, and I saw him sitting in the middle, some kind of a shawl, black shawl on his shoulder, another black shawl on his legs, on a chair, and the huge crowd around him asking questions, and he's responding to these questions. So I asked everyone to open some kind of a path for me to get to him so I can ask him a few questions. So people didn't object, so opened the door and got close to Amr ibn Ubaid. I said, Ya Shaykh, I have few questions. Would you permit me to ask? He said, go ahead. He said, Shaykh, it might appear to be unintelligent. I wouldn't call it stupid, but unintelligent. But I want you to tell me you want to respond or not. He said, go ahead. He said, I asked him, do you have eyes? He smiled and laughed and said, I have eyes. I can see me, I'm having eyes. What do you use your eyes for? He said, to see things around. Do you have ears? What do you use them for? To hear things. What about hand? He kept asking, tongue, mouth, and so on. Once all the faculties were listed and all the functions of these faculties were stated, I said, now tell me, do you have the power of intellect, the brain? He said, yes. Can you tell me what's the role of the brain? He said, well, the role of the brain is to oversee these faculties. And if they make mistake and they are unable to function properly, then the brain walks in and human intellect walks in to deliberate as to what is right and what is wrong. Technically, he fell into the trap. Hushab ibn al-Hakam immediately came back to him and said, Ya Shaykh, your body, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you all the power of intellect. They all independently function. And yet God has given you the power of the brain to oversee all these faculties. And in case these faculties mistake or clash, then the brain, the intellect comes in and goes through and discern what is right and what is wrong, haqq and batil. Correct? He said, yes. He said, now you tell me, God has created all the world and has not created the power to be able to discern what is right, that acts as the power of intellect in the human body for the world. Is it possible? He said, Husham said that Amr ibn Ubayd just stopped, didn't say anything. He said, are you Husham ibn Hakam? I said, well, let us assume I'm not. Are you associated with him? He said, might be, may not be. I said, no. Where are you from? From Kufa. Then you must be Husham ibn Hakam. He came down from the seat that he was sitting, put Husham ibn Hakam on the seat and said, oh people, ask him. Simple question. This hadith from Imam Ja'far, Imam Muhammad al-Baqir that says, لَأَنَّ الْوَالِي هُوَ الدَّلِيلَ عَلَيْهِنَّ is that power of the intellectual power that ultimately discerns what is haqq, what is batil, in case the faculties, humans, begin to clash through interest. So this issue that wali is the role of the wali, وَلَمْ يُنَادَ بِشَيْءٍ كَمَا نُودِيَ بِالْوِلَايَةِ becomes clear. Imam is that living intellectual power that exists in the world and ultimately is the one that decides by following him, you are following haqq and batil. Discern what is haqq and what is batil based on their position. إِنِّي تَارِكُمْ فِيكُمْ الثَّقْلَيْنِ which is the Holy Prophet. Kitabullah wa itrati, two weighty things. I'm leaving them with you. And what are they? The book of Allah on one side and my itra, which is Ahlul Bayt, on the other. لَنْ يَفْتَرِقَا, they are not going to separate from each other. If the book is accepted as haqq, Ahlul Bayt is not going to be far away from the book. They go with the book. So they stand for haqq. Similar is a hadith from the Holy Prophet that told Salman, he said, Ya Salman, look, in your life, look where Ali is. Even if the rest of the world did not follow Ali, Ali is on the right path and the rest of the world have gone non-linear and deviated from the right path. So Wali Imam acts as the role, the intellectual power in the middle of the society to be able to discern and distinguish what is right and wrong when we human fall into the trap of nafs al-ammara and other things, and we are unable to distinguish what is right and what is wrong. A few nights ago when I was discussing this concept, I said that for Shia Islam, significance of the 12 Imam cannot be understated. The significance of Imam in number one, and the 12 Imam, based on the number of ahadith that we have from the Holy Prophet and so on. The Ahlul Bayt are supposed to be the guide for the community, true interpreters of the Quran, explainers of the law, and upholders of justice, and acts as, because they are ma'asumeen, they act as a guide for us to follow in the society, to emulate them. And as I just said, that Kitabullah wa Itrati is something that we have to pay attention to. Urafa and the mystics, they focus on another part of the concept of imamah, which I personally see it to be extremely engaging and fascinating when we analyze it, when we analyze this literature, but it is above the ordinary average, what we call intellectual capacity to understand what these people are talking about. I'm just going to give you a few of the concept. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in the mystical literature, they say that there are three lights, three different kinds of lights. Remember, 5 or 6 nights ago when I was talking about human, based on the book from Marhum Tabatabai that said, Al-Insan fil marahil al-thalatha, the 3 phases, pre-creation, post-creation, and the post-creation, this world and the hereafter. In the pre-creation, he touched upon this notion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala being the light, Allahu nuru as-samawati wal-ard. This is in Surah Nur, verse 35. One of probably the most not debated ayah in the Holy Quran that have secured huge amount of commentary. Exactly what does that mean, Allahu nuru as-samawati wal-ard? The idea is, what they explain, that Allah, in the first place, there is a hadith Qudsi, كنت نورا مخفيا, or kanzan makhfiya. I was a hidden treasure. I wanted to be recognized. فأحببت أن أعرف. Then I decided to create so that people recognize who I am and understand who I am. Creation is nothing more than, according to Urafa and mystical literature, it's nothing more than tajalli and self-disclosure, that Allah discloses Allah's self in whatever Allah creates. The first creation is light. And within that light, the first creation, that the verse in the Holy Quran says, Allahu nuru as-samawati wal-ard, mathalu nurihi kamishkatun fiha misbah. Go and read some of the commentaries on this particular verse to understand. So God is the light of the heaven and the earth. His light is like a niche in which there is a lamp. This is the literally exact translation of the verse, but itself, what it is, this requires further. The Quran also says that the Holy Prophet, this first one, God's light, Nurullah, that became eminent in the first tajalli and self-disclosure. Quran also talks about the Holy Prophet that وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ بِإِذْنِهِ وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا, that the Holy Prophet is also a shining, illuminating lamp by Allah's command. While he is carrying the command of Allah, the message of Allah, he himself is illuminating light. وَدَاعِيًا إِلَى اللَّهِ is calling people to go to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and بِإِذْنِهِ وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا. So there is a concept called Nur al-Muhammadiyya. This is the second one. According to the hadith, particularly the hadith that I recited, I think 6 or 7 nights ago, that the Holy Prophet said, my light and Ali's light was the same and created 14,000 years before the idea of creation of Adam even came to the desk, so to speak, before Allah decided to create Adam. So the notion that the light of Ali and the light of Muhammad were united in the pre-creation as a single light, and later on divided into the two branches of the Hashemi dynasty. That's why we have in the verse Al-Mubahala, نَدْعُ أَبْنَاءَنَا وَأَبْنَاءَكُمْ وَنِسَاءَنَا وَنِسَاءَكُمْ وَأَنفُسَنَا. Ali becomes nafs of the Holy Prophet. Why? Because in essence, their nur, the light is the same. It was divided, it was going through Adam's descendant until it came to Abu Talib and Muhammad ibn Abdullah. And here it split, because each one of these lights became now responsible for different function that complemented each other. Muhammad cannot be Muhammad without Ali, and Ali cannot be Ali without Muhammad. This discussion about the light of Nurullah, Nur al-Muhammadiyya, Nur al-Alawiyya, Nur al-Ahl al-Bayt is a huge literature that is not needed to go into it, because under normal circumstance, people really don't have in-depth ground information as exactly what one needs. A lot of people, when they get into it, either they become disillusioned and they say they don't make sense. But for ordinary people, what does imama mean from a theological perspective? For ordinary people, imama is considered to be one of the most important principles of faith. We have the usul al-din, in what we share with Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah are the three, and then we add another two to it. We share with them Tawheed, Nubuwwah and Ma'ad. The concept of imama and adl are two other, and one day inshallah we might be able to explain why out of the so many characteristics of the divine, we focused on adl in itself. That's historical. We do it inshallah later. But the concept of imama is brought in as the most important principle of the perfection of one's faith. Your faith is not complete unless you believe in imama. Al-yawm akmaltu lakum deenukum, and that's the verse that exists. Wa atmamtu alaykum ni'mati wa raditu lakum al-islam deena. When the Holy Prophet proclaimed that now I have delivered my part, my equal partner that is not a Nabi but is close to me is responsible to guide the society forward, to become now the intellectual power of the society, to be able to discern between what is right and what is wrong. Al-yawm akmaltu lakum deenakum, and then the Holy Prophet in Ghadir he stood up and said, Man kuntu mawla, fahadha aliyun mawla. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And Allahumma wali man wala wa adi man ada, and so on. This is the story of Ghadir. You can go and have a look at it. From the Shia 12ers at least, we believe that the Imams are must be divinely appointed individuals. Why? Because we need isma, infallibility, and nobody knows anything about the isma and the infallibility of an individual but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. A fallible person cannot take the position of guiding society and becoming the so-called the intellectual power that discerns between right and wrong if he makes mistakes and commits sins. What happened in Saqifa is a clear example. You remove Ahlul Bayt and you allow these creepy crawlies to come in. Now the situation is what we have. Muawiyah comes to power, Aisha's bloodshed, and the rest of them. You have a society, what I talked about a few nights ago. The Holy Prophet came, I repeated, the Holy Prophet came with a clear guidelines and a strategy to establish these three principles. Number one, obviously, a basic ummah, faithful ummah that said, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Or the Holy Prophet said, Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflahu, at the beginning of the message. You require this ummah to exist. But at the same time, the strategy also contained within it a different component, which wasn't possible during Mecca's period. This is why he had to migrate to Medina. To shift and push this society, what we call the faithful society, to more virtuous, intellectually active, socially working for establishment of justice against injustice. This society must be able to discern the leader and make a difference for them. There is a difference between Ali being a leader and Muawiyah being a leader. Omar being a leader and Ali being a leader. There's a huge difference between the two. If a society falls back and accept no matter who's in charge, I want to live and be comfortable, as one of the political commentators in Oman said, in our society we have two groups of people, Ashabul Alaf wa Ashabul Sharaf. Ashabul Alaf means people who cared nothing but their stomach, like animals that they cared about something to chew and exist. Ashabul Sharaf are those that have honor, dignity, and everything else mattered to them, and for the sake of that dignity they are prepared to stand up and make sacrifice. If the society falls back and become Ashabul Alaf, it doesn't matter who's in charge, as long as I live. When after Saqifa and so on, when Amir al-Mu'mineen put Fatima Zahra on the donkey or mule and moved around Medina to the houses of people and said, didn't you swear allegiance in Ghadir Khum to Amir al-Mu'mineen? He said, yes, but we want to live, we are tired. That's what Amir al-Mu'mineen says, Ala wa inna baliyatakum qad aadat. The crisis that existed where the Holy Prophet faced, it has come down. The basic society has given up on the notion of a virtuous social work to stand up to injustice for the sake of justice. Why? Because that the pinnacle of the society, the leadership, was removed from the righteous individuals and given to the corrupt individuals. What happened, and this is, there is another hadith from the Holy Prophet I came across from Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq salawatullah alayhi. No. My mistake, it is from the Holy Prophet. I saw it in a book last night as I was looking at it. قال رسول الله, in the story between Anas ibn Malik and Rasulullah. Anas is, and this is by the way in the book of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Anas ibn Malik narrates that one day the Holy Prophet told me, here is a brick of water, pour over my hand to do my wudu and because I need to do 2 rak'at salat. So I was pouring the water on his hand. ثم قال أنس, the Holy Prophet told them, أول من يدخل عليك من هذا الباب, the first person that walks into this door, هو أمير المؤمنين وسيد المرسلين. It's going to be the leader of the faithful and the commander of the society. وخاتم الوصيين. قال أنس, I said to myself in my heart, oh Lord, make it to be one of the أجعله رجلا من الأنصار, not Muhajirin, because he was from Medina, Muhajirin coming from Mecca. Still, after nearly 10-15 years, this sectarian mindset of Muhajir, Ansar is in his head. He said, I told myself, oh Lord, make it one of the Ansar, But I didn't tell the Holy Prophet that I had this wish. And وَكَتَمْتُ إِذَا جَاءَ عَلِيٌّ. Then suddenly Ali appeared and walked into the door. The Holy Prophet asked, who is he that is coming into the door? فَقُلْتُ عَلِيٌّ Ali. I told him Ali. The Holy Prophet stood up, gave him a very tight hug, and began to rub his own forehead to the forehead of Amir al-Mu'mineen. So the sweat from his forehead to the forehead of Ali, and the sweat from forehead of Ali to his own forehead. يمسح عرق علي بوجهه فقال علي يا رسول الله لقد رأيتك صنعت شيئا. I saw you doing something that you had not done before to me. The Holy Prophet says, وَمَا يَمْنَعُنِي. There is nothing to stop me to be as affectionate to the person that is going to be the criteria for showing the society what is haqq and what is batil after me. And when there are disputes, he is the one that would settle the dispute. See, the main primary role of Ahlul Bayt, the Imam, is that Imam Baqir talks about. He said that it's the power, the intellectual power of the society to be able, when there is a clash of interest and so on, he comes down and says what is right and what is wrong. Saqifa removed that power and led to huge amount of crises, hypocrites, power-hungry individuals, and so on and so forth that came to power. Necessitated to ask the question, how Ahlul Bayt, they are going to respond to the crisis. I mentioned it a couple of nights ago and said that at least the first three Imams, Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein, they made an attempt to physically take power and redirect society to the right, from the purely faithful, salat and Sawm, and to what we call the virtuous community that stood up, that did matter for them. There is a difference between Ali and Muawiyah as a leader. And Imam Hussein, the third of these three groups, this group. Tonight, we are discussing the life of Imam Hassan, alayhi salatu wassalam. Because we are getting late, I want to rush through it and just briefly mention. Unfortunately, when we come to the life of Imam Hassan, there are two types of history that exist. Last night, I talked about, when I was studying about how the opponent creates and crafts history if they win. That's exactly what happened. First of all, from the Shia perspective, we don't have much in-depth historical information beyond some minor biographical information. He was born 15th of Ramadan, 3rd after Hijrah. He is the first grandson of the Holy Prophet from Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra. He was with his grandfather, the Holy Prophet, under the auspices of the Holy Prophet for 7 years. And after the Holy Prophet's death, literally, as if Imam Hassan goes under the table and under the radar. We briefly hear about him being present during the uprising against Uthman, when Amir al-Mu'mineen sends Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein to go and take water for Uthman, because the revolutionaries were encircling the house. They were not allowing anything in or out. So Imam said that, and even he recalls it in one of his speeches, that send Hassan and Hussein to deliver water to Uthman, and nearly were killed in delivering this, in doing this act. So that suddenly it comes up here, and then after the killing of Uthman, Amir al-Mu'mineen's 4 or 5 years of leadership, Imam Hassan comes to the surface, standing with his father, and Ultimately, when Amir al-Mu'mineen is martyred in the year 40 after Hijrah, 6 months of Khilafah, where Bay'ah took place in Masjid al-Kufa, he tried to get rid of Muawiyah, but nobody listened. Even he went out towards current Taq al-Kasra, which is close to Baghdad and Qadmiyah, around that area, and had a camp to see whether people would come and organize, because he knew as long as Muawiyah exists, there is no peace in the Muslim community. But unfortunately, even his cousin, one of the Ibn Abbas's children, were bought by Muawiyah a huge amount of money. They all defected. And this reminds us why Imam is not coming back. Until a political base, proper political base is established, the reason for failure of Amir al-Mu'mineen in his uprising to grab power or to take back power is because the absence of political base. They would not listen to him. Imam Hassan failed and ultimately had to organize a peace deal with Muawiyah and go back to Medina and start dealing with what I mentioned a few nights ago, with the Ummah, the faithful community, so gradually enlighten them to move towards virtuous society. And ultimately, Imam Hussein is standing up and says, if the Ummah is not prepared, we don't have the virtuous society, at least I, as an Imam, I have a responsibility to stand for justice, and I'm going to go for it, whether you will come with me or not. But the project failed. I know in the long run, it's a different story, but appears that none of them succeeded during that attempt. Imam Hassan, after the peace treaty, went to Medina and started propagating Islam to the people of Medina. This is what we have, anecdotal kind of account within the Shia Islam. I don't want to mention what Muawiyah and Muawiyah's conspiracy and rumors and so on, and the image they created from Imam Hassan. You can go online and see it. Let me stop here, and then inshallah, tomorrow night we will continue with it, because the dua kumail and so on took some time. So inshallah, we will continue about this tomorrow night and see whether we can transition to another topic. But let's end by reciting a dua. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. نسألك اللهم وندعوك باسمك الأعز الأجل الأكرم المخزون المكنون أن تصلي على محمد وآله صلاة ترضيك عنا رضا تمحو عنا من الذنوب ما قدمناه وما أخرناه وما أنت أعلم به منا. اللهم اجعل عواقب أمورنا خيرا ووفقنا لما تحب وترضى. اللهم اقض حوائج المحتاجين واشف مرضى المؤمنين وأد ديونهم وارحم موتاهم. اللهم انصر الإسلام وأهله واخذل الكفار وأهله. اللهم اشغل الظالمين بالظالمين واجعلنا بينهم سالمين. اللهم عجل لوليك الفرج والعافية والناصر واجعلنا من أعوانه وأنصاره وشيعته والمستشهدين بين يديه بمنك وجودك وكرمك يا أرحم الراحمين. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وآله الطاهرين. والسلام عليكم.